pleasure to introduce the director of the University of Wisconsin Carbone Cancer Center, Dr. Howard Bailey, to help introduce our Fan of the Year.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you for Coaches vs. Cancer for the opportunity to introduce the Fan of the Year and my friend, Bill Buchholz. But before I do that, I really want to thank the American Cancer Society, Coaches vs. Cancer, but especially all of you for supporting local cancer patients and their families with the Road to Recovery program that Ben has mentioned, but also what you do to support local cancer research, whether it's at the Carbone or nationally. It makes a difference, you make a difference. So thank you for that. So some examples of some of the local research that you've been supporting include the following. Dr. Christian Capitini, who's sitting over here, is a researcher looking at new ways to develop immunotherapies to treat kids with cancer. And for the pet lovers out there, he's even moving that into canine studies as well. That's one of the things you're supporting. More recently, the Bo Ryan and Jay Holiday Families Fund. You've supported a really talented biomedical engineer by the name of Dr. Pam Krieger, who's studying how and why ovarian cancer spreads and what we can do to stop that. Another one that fund has supported and you've supported is Dr. Randy Kimpel, who's studying how and why certain cancers don't respond to radiation therapy. And that has already led to a clinical trial here and at the University of Michigan trying to overcome that. So that's some of the things that you've been a big part of. So thank you for that. Your honored fan, Bill Buchholz, along with his wonderful spouse and partner, Signe, have been an incredible, important part of our community because of their generosity and caring over the years. Their connection to cancer is unfortunately long, but they also have a connection to cancer research. Starting with Signe, who worked in the lab of Howard Temin, the Nobel laureate, years ago, leading to, unfortunately, their own battles with cancer. Signe with breast cancer, Bill with prostate cancer, and more recently, Bill with metastatic melanoma. Bill Buchholz is the epitome of what many of us would call the servant leader. Whether that's founding and developing the Buchholz Planning Corporation into one of the country's best employee benefits programs company, or the work that he does for all of our communities and beyond. So it was no surprise to me that when Bill recently heard something that none of us want to hear, you have advanced metastatic cancer. What Bill asked was what obviously any of us would ask, what can we do about it? But in the same breath, what Bill asked was, what can I do to help others with cancer, even while I'm doing that? So while Bill has been dealing with advanced cancer, he has taken the time to do much for all of us, starting with being the founder and starting what's called the Innovation Fund at the Carbone, where we can move a lot of our discovery to the clinic much faster, or helping communities here and elsewhere. So Bill and Signe have also done that, plus early on in the pandemic, they reached out and wanted to know how they could support the frontline care providers around our area during the travesty, during the parts of the pandemic. And Bill has spent a lot of time counseling and working with patients and families with cancer to work with that. So this next part, for those of you that know Bill, will not surprise you. Over all the years of my growing friendship with Bill, he has spent more time calling me to see how I'm doing than I've spent calling him to see how he's doing with his cancer. So join me now in honoring the Fan of the Year, a cancer survivor, but more importantly, a great human being, Mr. Bill Buchholz.
This year's Fans of the Year, Bill and Signe Buchholz, are an inspiration to many.
I grew up in Beloit, Wisconsin, 50 miles south of here, and came here to the university. I thought Madison was a huge town at the time because Beloit's only 32,000 people. So anyway, we loved it here. We met when Bill was a freshman and I was a sophomore, and we've been here ever since.
I was born here at the time my father was trying to land on Omaha Beach, and when he got back after some injuries, we moved to Manitowoc. And that's where I grew up, and then came back here in 1963 to go to college, and we've been here since then. It's a great place to live here. I mean, it's wonderful. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. We have a son who is, what is he, 49?
49 years old.
Yeah. And our daughter is 52. She's 52 now. Our daughter should be 53. He lives in Raleigh, North Carolina with his wife. And Linda, our daughter, lives with her family in Minneapolis. They have 2 grandchildren, one of which is going to the university here as a freshman, which we love. And the daughter will be going on to college in probably about 2 years, maybe a little less. As far as being an athlete at the university, I'm much better now than I really was when I was playing. At least that's what I tell the grandkids. I was fortunate to receive a scholarship to play primarily baseball, but a little bit of basketball. I wasn't good enough to really play Big Ten basketball, and that showed up quickly. Well, athletics has taught me some things, and one of the things that I have learned is that you're going to get knocked down, and you're going to have adverse things happen to you, and you just need to get up and keep plugging away at it. Competitiveness, the desire to fight through things, plus just work ethic and meeting people, team concept of getting along, and it's anybody that can play any sport, male or female, doesn't really matter. It's going to help them. Well, when I was first diagnosed, and Signe handled it better with her cancer than I did. Well, it first of all caught up with Signe. Signe was diagnosed with breast cancer, and knock on wood, everything is going terrific. It was devastating to me, because they told me that it was metastatic. Signe's was not metastatic, and that it was going to shorten my lifespan considerably if they couldn't successfully treat it. I'm not ashamed to say it was devastating to me. I ended up on my knees crying uncontrollably. And then it kind of came to me that I now get it. I'm not in charge. That I can't control some things. 15 years later now, there's no evidence of any cancer in the prostate area. We feel blessed we got through it. It was December of 2017, and I had gone in for some checkups and stuff, and they did a chest x-ray, and they came back and they told me that they saw a lesion in my left lung. So they had a biopsy. That metastasized and went in to my brain. So I had melanoma in my brain, and I had melanoma in both lungs, and I had it near my liver, and a couple other small tumors at different parts. The first episode helped prepare me for the shock of this one, because I was upset, and I'm sure I shed some tears, but I have a little more resiliency now because of what I went through the first time. I don't recommend that you go this route. So I sat down with the people at Carbone, and they told me, Bill, because I asked them how long do I have to live, and they said, well, if we can't find a successful treatment for you, you've got somewhere between maybe a year. Pretty shaken up, but you know, I'm kind of proud of myself that I kind of sucked it up and went about my work, and I have a great partner here who is terrific, and she's a pillar of strength. And the probabilities of finding a successful treatment was pretty low, well below 50%. And But they said, we've got some new stuff that's been going on, and we have a new method of treating it, because the new procedure they use when they can is called immunotherapy. I was very, 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 very fortunate that after one treatment, 50% of the cancer went away. And gradually it kept getting better and better and better. And during all of this time, I convinced myself that if I could keep a good attitude and keep active. So I didn't change what we were doing. Played golf, we went to dinner, we went to parties with friends. This is my baby. 2 years ago, approximately 2 years ago now, we stopped the treatments. And I've gone 2 years now without any treatments and no evidence of any cancer in my brain, in my lungs, liver, or anywhere else in me. And Carbone is very much at the forefront of all of that. So keep the money coming in. I feel kind of bad about asking for that, but it really is important because enough of us get cancer. We have to have hope, and this kind of stuff gave me a lot of hope. And when you have hope, it's easier to fight the battle.
Thank you to our fans of the year, Bill and Sydney Buchholz.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure, Coach Ryan and I, to introduce the 2022 Fan of the Year, Bill Buchholz.
Okay. I don't think I was this nervous when Dr. Bailey came to me and said, you have cancer. When I had an office in a business, I had folks who would type things for me. I never learned how to do that. So this is all written down in yellow pieces of paper. So bear with me. Let me start by saying good evening and thank you to the Coaches vs. Cancer organization and the American Cancer Society for allowing me to visit with you about a subject that I've become more familiar with than I ever, than I ever intended. Parenthetically, I want to re-echo that this Coaches vs. Cancer organization is the largest fundraiser in the country. Think about that. New York, LA, Philly, all of these, Chicago. This is the one that raises the most money. So that, in a way, that shows what you folks have done, and you should be proud of what you've done. They say that life is a compilation of lifetime experiences. Some are good, some are not so good. When starting a conversation about cancer, it is challenging to know what to say and where to start. The video that you just saw documented a bit of our journey that we have gone through, and I'm going to be using we, as Ben said. It's a family deal. Too often the spouse does not get the credit for dealing with the fight that we go through. But I'd like to add a few things that I've learned along the way and provide some real reasons for hope for future treatments. There is a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to cancer treatments, and it's not a train. After 2 battles with stage 4 metastatic cancer, I can confirm that any experience with cancer is, as Ben said, it sucks. It messes with you physically, it messes with you mentally, and it messes with your relationships. And it's downright scary. In all of its forms, cancer is a miserable, rotten disease. In 2006, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. After surgery, it came back. Then we tried some medicine to slow it down. That didn't work. Finally, in 2010, we all put our heads together, especially the doctors, and we came to the conclusion that trying a new form of radiation called tomotherapy would be a good thing to do, and I'm pleased to tell you that it worked much better than the others. In 2017, I was diagnosed with melanoma on the side of my head, and I had surgery to remove it. Melanoma can be very aggressive, and such was the case for me. In 2018, it metastasized to my brain, both of my lungs, near my liver, and various other parts of my body, all of which were of significance to me. My life expectancy at that time was not so good, but a dear friend of mine, and I have a group of dear friends of mine, put his arm around my shoulder and he said, "Bill, perhaps this would be a good time not to buy any green bananas." And I actually thought that was funny at the time, and I learned something. It's okay to laugh at cancer. Don't misunderstand me. It's a very, very serious thing, but sometimes it's a way to relieve tension if you can laugh at it. But I'm now in a good life experience, and as I stand before you tonight, I am pleased to report that as of last Thursday, I continue to be free of no detectable evidence of any cancer anywhere in my body. Notice that I said no detectable evidence of cancer. It can come back. Cancer cells can be so small that the science guys and their magnificent machines that they use to test us can't pick it up. It's that small. But as of now, they don't see any that's good enough for me. If it does come back, we've already got a plan B and a plan C in mind, and I don't think we're going to need it. I want to thank the 3 primary physicians who have helped me through this. Dr. Mark Albertini, who is a medical oncologist, Dr. Zach Morris, who is a radiation oncologist, and of course Howard Bailey, who has been my father confessor, who explains to me what these words use in the reports. I think it's a code for them, so we don't know. However, the chairman of my medical team is my wife, Signe. She's not a doctor, but she could be, at least a psychiatrist or a psychologist, because I've been told that sometimes I'm a little challenging to be around. And as you heard earlier, she has had her battle with breast cancer, successful surgery twice, and then some treatment, and she's doing great. And Signe, would you mind standing up? It's not enough that we say thank you to our spouses or our partners. It's tough on them too. There's a big question that I deal with often, and sometimes it really bothers me. Why am I standing here tonight, presumably free of cancer, and while I was being treated, others have lost their battle? We've all got friends who have lost the battle. It just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't seem to be fair. To those families who have lost a loved one, I am profoundly sorry for your loss. I have a little insight into what they might have gone through. If I may, I'd like to share some things I've learned and then share my answer to the question I just posed. During the first Coaches versus Cancer Gala, Coach Jim Valvano, with his body riddled with cancer and so fatigued that he needed help to get to the podium to give his famous speech, in which he used the phrase, "Don't give up. Don't ever give up." I agree. But I would be less than honest with you if I didn't confess that at times not giving up was tough to do. I started feeling sorry for myself, then I got angry, and then I got off my butt and decided I need to do something. And I thank people like Coach Smart and Coach Ryan and all the coaches that I've had in sports for learning how to get back in the game and not give up. It was a real blessing to me. Obviously, I haven't died. Sometimes I feel like it when I'm playing golf. And interestingly enough, I've never really been afraid of dying because I know we're all going to do it anyway. But scared? Absolutely. Really scared. The process of dying from cancer is not a fun experience. Fear of the unknown and loss of control of timing are stimulants to being scared. When you can't control the cancer and you can't control the timing of it, it makes you fearful. There's empirical evidence that a positive attitude can help heal you physically and mentally. It can even help you make free throws. If you're feeling low and down and out and scared, talk to someone, be it a professional or a friend. All of us have friends who want to help. They just don't know how or what to do. And I would suggest they never will if you don't talk to them. Let them help you. They want to. And it will also lessen the burden of cancer on yourself. Let 2 or 3 other people carry the burden with you. If you have a higher power in your life, go to it and pray. I am of the Christian faith, and I ask not to be cured of cancer, but rather to have peace of mind and courage to face what is before me. In the military, there is a saying, I think it's Marines, but I'm not sure of that. Evaluate what is, then adapt to what is, and then go forward with courage. Equally important as courage is to go forward with hope. There are hundreds and hundreds of research projects to develop new treatments to attack the mutations within cancer cells. I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to make an attempt to describe this. All the cancer cells have unique mutations within them that are specific to the person who has cancer. If they're able to match new medicines to those mutations, then you got something going for you. I'm an example of that. See, I had a mutation in my cancer, the melanoma cancer. It was called PDL1. There's all kinds of them. They just did a study with 18,000 cancer cells to determine what the mutations were. With genome sequencing and the development of targeted treatments for these cancers, it has become a reality. It just now needs to be perfected. As to the answer to the question, why am I here and others are not, the only thing I can give you is a profound conclusion that I was lucky.
luck is affected by timing. You see, both of my cancers were diagnosed after new developments came into being. For example, if my melanoma had been detected 10 years ago or 10 years before now, I wouldn't be here now. In my opinion, innovation is the key to new treatments. Research projects are the key to innovation, and research requires funding, which is why we're here tonight. I know times are tough and challenging, but quite frankly, cancer doesn't care. I have a wish, perhaps it's a dream, and that wish is that all of us someday never have to deal with cancer again. That a vaccine is discovered to prevent cancer like the polio vaccine has done for polio. It probably isn't going to happen during my lifetime, but I can hope and I will hope, and I'll work hard to see if I can help make it happen. But a wish that is possible is that research develops new forms of treatments for all forms of cancer. Then the luck I received will be available to all of us. It can happen, and I believe it will happen. Coach Valvano was correct. Don't ever give up. I would add one word. Don't ever give up hope. The future for the treatment of cancer is filled with hope. I'm an example that actually worked. Thanks for listening.